Okay, day 2 of the return of the Car Guru to the airwaves. So glad to be back in action. I really do feel guilty when I cannot perform my duties as a radio show host / podcaster. I have an obligation. It must be fulfilled. So the people at the radio station run reruns, and the people that listen to the podcast just wait until something new pops up. And they've really had to wait. A couple weeks ago, I had a little over 3,000 downloads for a week's worth of podcast. This week that I had my hip surgery, I had 168. Totally unacceptable. So I'm going to make it up. I'm going to make up a lot of it today because I'm going to give you some tools to use when you are dealing with somebody at a new car dealership in the sales department or in the service department, and you are not getting what you want. This is some verbiage. It's also a strategy, because verbiage without strategy is just a lot of hot air sometimes. And I know what you want. You know what you want when you go into a service department. You want your car back. You don't even want a loaner car. See, a lot of people in the service department, they think, well, I gave them a loaner car. They should be fine. No, they're not fine. You know, your car has all your stuff in it. You know where your stuff is. You've got your console organized. You've got your glove box organized. You got things in your trunk. That's where a lot of your life is, your car life. When you take a loaner car, that's somebody else's car. It's not yours. It doesn't drive like yours. It doesn't accelerate like yours or brake like yours, and you get frustrated. But the dealership thinks, well, they're fine. You know, we can just put them off. You ever been put off before? I don't like it. I don't like being put off. You know, I will make a phone call to the head of a department in a hurry if I feel like somebody is not paying attention to my needs, and you should too. But remember, my approach is always going to be professional, businesslike, but direct. My dad used to have a saying, firm, fair, and friendly. He used that as his philosophy with dealing with employees, and I do too, and dealing with customers. Now, you kind of flip it around a little bit with customers. Friendly comes first. Now, a lot of customers come in, and they are very pleasant. The vast majority are, but occasionally you get that one that wants to really show everybody who's in charge and starts yelling and screaming in the service drive, and you know they're obviously not getting what they want. And what I've found over the years is that most service advisors, service department personnel, don't respond very well to that. As a matter of fact, it makes them not want to help you as opposed to wanting to. I mean, I hate to say that there could be retribution, but that's something you need to be concerned about. Just like when you go to a restaurant. If you give the waiter a really hard time, there ain't no telling what they could do to your food while it's back in the kitchen. You know, you want to be nice, but you also want to be clear. And clarity comes both ways. You know, I don't like vagueness from an employee. Like if I take my vehicle into a service department, and it's not the first time for this particular problem, clarity is really important at this point. I'm still going to be nice, but I'm going to say, okay, now we've already had this in here once. Here's a copy of my receipt. And obviously this repair did not take care of the problem. And so I would like to have some kind of idea what you all believe is the problem and how we're going to solve this. And I'd also like some type of a time frame on this, because I don't want to drive your loaner car around. Thank you very much for it, but I'd really like to have some type of a time frame, especially when you're going to call me back and let me know how things are going or what things are happening. And there's a really important reason that I want to do this, because if you don't put some kind of a time frame on it, and they don't write some kind of a note to call you, and you see them do it, some type of a reminder, then they'll put you off because you're in a loaner car, and they can put you off in their mind. You have to make them understand that you don't want to drive their loaner car and you want some type of a commitment on follow-up, and when they think they can have the repairs done. And that pretty much covers all the 3 F's: firm, fair, and friendly. Now, if they fail to call me back, they don't live up to their commitments, I'm probably not going to go through the service advisor again. So the next part of the strategy is to escalate to a higher level of management. You want to talk to the assistant shop foreman, the service manager, somebody above the service advisor. And I would give them the opportunity to correct the course. Make a course change. Let's fix it. Still be nice. I'm not going to raise Cain with him either. I think if they see professionalism on your part at that point, then they will reciprocate. Now, at that point, I think that you'll get your problem solved before you have to escalate. But, you can, it's not really a threat, but you can say, and if you can't really handle this, I'll be happy to talk to the dealer or the general manager and get his input. You see what I'm doing? I'm giving respect in order to get respect in return, and also just laying out what the path is going to be. And so they don't want you to go to the dealer. They really don't. They want to solve the problem before it gets to the dealer, because sometimes that could get ugly, especially if it's a long, drawn-out thing. But another thing that I want to warn you about is letting things get long and drawn out. I mean, if they don't contact you at the time they said they were going to, then you call them back and remind them of the fact that they failed to call you back when they said they would. Maybe you'll snap them to attention. Sometimes that works. But all of this is to get the problem solved, get your car back in your driveway. That's what you want. And I think it's a declining level of service that exists out there right now because there's such a high volume of it. And service advisors are inundated with phone calls, not only incoming service work that needs to be done, but also updates on the work that's there, calling warranty companies to get approvals. When you buy an extended warranty from some company, they have to approve the repairs or the dealership can't get paid. And that can delay the process. Make sure you know that. If you're taking your vehicle in for repairs that are not covered by the manufacturer warranty, but that are supposedly, you think they're supposed to be covered by the warranty company, then you need to know that, and you need to know what the status of that call is, because they can't do anything to your car until the warranty company authorizes it. I mean, they may say if it's a major repair, they want to send an adjuster in, and that could take a week or two. And those types of delays are not the fault of the dealership. But you need to know whose fault it is, because you might need to make a customer service call to the warranty company and say, what is going on with the delay on my repairs? It's at ABC Motors, and they say that you guys have not authorized repairs. Can you please update me on what the status is and why there's such a delay? That's one of the advantages of buying, like if you buy a Honda, buying a Honda-backed warranty. If you buy a Ford, buying a Ford warranty. Sometimes the claims process is really slow with certain what we call aftermarket warranty companies. We offer an aftermarket warranty. It's less expensive, has the same coverage as the factory warranty, but it's less expensive. And many customers choose to take that. But the claims process with them is faster than the factory. That's one of the reasons we have used them for the last 15 years. So these are all issues you need to be aware of when you take your car in for service. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I am back. Another area that gets people out of sorts is when there are parts delays. And that is a big problem in the auto industry right now. A lot of parts are manufactured by suppliers, and the suppliers have still not 100% recovered from the pandemic. So we're still getting residual effects from that. But for a part to be on a national back order, we had a customer on a Nissan the other day waiting for a door lock switch. When she hit her unlock button, all the doors would unlock except the one she needed, the driver's door. It just so happened that particular actuator, that door lock switch, was on national back order, so she had to wait. Fortunately, it got resolved, and we were able to get that part in 2 days. What did we do? We left her in her car. because she doesn't have any type of loaner coverage. It wasn't covered by any type of warranty because it had high miles. I would have loaned her a car since I know her pretty well, but there was no need to. She wanted to stay in her own car. She said, well, that's okay. I can unlock the door another way. Use the key, for example. How innovative. So that could be an issue with parts. Let's say that you have a major engine overhaul issue or something with your transmission. They can get most of the parts, but they can't get all of them on an emergency basis. Then don't just sit there and fume and wait. Call them back periodically. Let them know that you're still waiting on the part, because as busy as they are, sometimes they forget to check. Sometimes parts departments can upgrade the order to an emergency type order. It costs them more to do that. If the customer pushes it, then they will upgrade the order to emergency order, which reduces the margin that the dealership can make on the part. I know it just seems like they would go ahead and do that anyway, but the parts department employees want to maximize their margin. They want to sell a part, obviously, but they want to maximize their margin. So if they do it on a regular stock order, they make a little bit more. So which would you do? Well, in the interest of the customer, you do an emergency order, but the service advisor has to give them that direction. And what you have to do is just make sure that they do. Don't you wish you didn't have to do this kind of stuff? But, I was just watching my wife when we were in the doctor's office, or really in the hospital room, and it was after my surgery, and she had her little notebook out and all her questions written out and everything, and she listened intently. She said, Lenny, I wrote down everything they said. I said, well, good, because I can't remember half of it. But she's engaged in it. She's paying attention. She's staying on top of it. When something isn't right, like at the house, or she has a question, she knows exactly who to call, when to call. These are just preparations that you do. It's amazing how many people go to the doctor and they feel intimidated to ask questions that need to be asked. It's the same thing in the car business. You take your car in, you don't always know what to ask, and sometimes you need a little assistance. And I'm willing to provide that if you have a situation that you don't really understand what's going on. You can call me or send me a text, 423-552-2020, and I'll get back to you on it. I promise. It's just like this. So we've got this new recall for Nissan on certain engines and vehicles. Of course, Hyundai has had it, Kia, Toyota has had it. Toyota had to replace a bunch of Tundra engines, and they're having problems with Tacoma engines. And all the manufacturers, for some reason or other, are having problem with crankshaft bearings. Isn't that wonderful? Very important part of the engine. And so when somebody brings their Nissan Rogue, for example, in, and they've gotten a recall notice, what are we supposed to do? Well, the first thing we do is we drain the oil out of it. We check the oil and see if there's any residual metal in the oil pan or and floating around in the oil. Because if there is, then Nissan will pay for a complete new engine, which is great. But what if there is no metal? There's no metal now. You don't know that in the future there won't be. Well, Nissan covered that as well, which I was very grateful to see this. They slap on a 10-year, 120,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty on every vehicle. Now, that's what you do to give people peace of mind. But what if you have a manufacturer, maybe Toyota or somebody else, that they're just going to inspect your oil? If there's nothing there, then they don't do anything. I mean, that wouldn't be sufficient to me, because it may not have failed now, but can it fail in the future? That's a question I want answered. And the reason I want it answered is it's going to help me make a decision. If my vehicle is fine now but may not be in the future, then I might want to think about trading it for something else, a different vehicle that doesn't have a recall or isn't known for having engine problems. Of course, Toyota isn't known for having engine problems, but they have them. People just don't know it. I mean, that's one thing that really has always bothered me about Toyota. They have just about as many problems as everybody else does. But they have so much brand equity. For the old days, when their vehicles didn't break very often, And that's carried over from one generation to the next when it's really not that valid anymore. It's just like when the Toyota Tacomas of the 90s, the frames were rusting out. The frames on a truck should never rust out. And the trucks, they could literally break in two. And if you were, I guess, brave enough, you would go to a Toyota dealer and say, listen, I mean, I don't care how old this thing is. I know it's out of warranty, but the frame should not break in two. And if somebody did go in and complain about that, guess what? They would replace the frame with a brand new one. But did they do that for everybody? No, not unless they complained. And I couldn't help but think about all the Toyota Tacoma trucks that were in junkyards, split in two, that could have been fixed, and the customer wouldn't have had to gone out and buy a new truck. So in the car business, I do have a slight anti-Toyota bias. And it's not that they're bad vehicles, because they aren't. They just aren't better than about anybody else. They're all about the same when it comes to overall quality. Although Nissan Rogue got ranked number 2 in initial quality by J.D. Power and Associates. So that was wonderful. Who was number 1? Lexus. Where was Toyota? Like number 4 or 5. But that brand loyalty, man, it's powerful. People are willing to overlook shortcomings, like frames that split in half and engines that are toast after 16,000 miles. Okay, so we've talked about service. We've talked about parts. Let's go into the sales department, and I'm going to add another letter F. We got firm, we got fair, we got friendly, and we're adding fast. Because if you have a problem with a new car department after you have purchased a vehicle at a new car dealership, it could be a used car that you bought at the new car dealership. The most important thing you can do is to act fast if you have a problem. Again, firm, fair, friendly, but fast. You want to get to that dealership as quickly as possible. Let's say that you went and bought a car this past weekend. Have you looked at the paperwork? Did they charge you for anything that doesn't look exactly right? Honey, do you remember us agreeing to buy that? No, I don't. Look at that paperwork. Please. It's not that hard. You know, I know sometimes you don't want to have to spoil all the fun, but if they charged you for, I don't know, an extended warranty that you didn't know about, or gap insurance, or some type of a protection package, you know, this is that dealership that when you drove onto their lot and you look at one of their new cars and they have a window sticker in the window, but there's another little sticker there too. And that jacks up the price. And it says something like marketing margin, consumer protection package, that kind of stuff. You better make sure that you didn't pay for that, and also that you didn't pay for anything extra in the in the finance office that you didn't know about. I'll be back in just 1 minute. You know, if I'm at a dealership and I walk up to a new car and it has a window sticker in there, you know, from the factory, and then I see that other little sticker there, and I see what's on it, and it's a bunch of junk. Like what would be junk? Any kind of fee there that, you know, it says like marketing margin or market value adjustment, or it says consumer protection package. You know, unless it says luggage rack or deep tinted windows, you know, something that's actually something, you know, a product, then before I move any further, I'm going to look at that salesperson and I'm going to say, I'm not paying for anything on this extra sticker. If we're going to start this deal, it's going to start at no more than MSRP. Now, you don't want to pay that either, but all of that extra sticker does is gives them extra margin to work with so that they can show you more for your trade-in. Let's say that they've got $4,000 added to the sticker of that vehicle, and you know they offer you $10,000 for your vehicle, and you know your vehicle's worth that or more, but they're doing it off of that pumped up window sticker. You stop the horses right now and you say, no, like I said, I'm not paying for any of that additional stuff on that extra sticker. There's nothing there. It's air. So you can start from MSRP, give me a discount off of that. You got to be competitive with what I've found online. Take off the rebates and take off my trade-in. And then I'll know what I'm paying for the car. Is that fair enough, sir? I mean, that's what you deserve, isn't it, as a car buyer? Straightforward stuff. So ignore stickers beside the stickers. Unless there's a hard ad on there like a bike rack or a luggage rack or different wheels and tires or some type of package that they put on a Silverado truck that adds all kinds of features and benefits. I mean, those are fine. They're usually highly inflated to give them extra margin to work with. But if you see just fluff, it's time to get firm because it's not fair. And then, like I said, if you get home, you review your paperwork, and you see things in there that you don't remember. You signed for it because you didn't read it when you were in the finance office, but now you're reading it, and you just don't want it. You know, there's no reason to buy a 10-year, 150,000-mile warranty if you trade every 3 years, is there? I mean, you're pretty much covered by the manufacturer's warranty, depending on how many miles you drive each year. So there's no need to buy it. Now, if you keep a car for 10 years, it might be a good thing to buy. But let that be your decision. Don't let that be something that they just slid in there without your knowledge and said, sign here, and you didn't read it. But when you read it and you see it there, go to the dealership the next day, the next business day, and say, listen, misunderstanding here, I did not want that warranty. We've already submitted it. Doesn't matter. I don't want that warranty. It was sold to me without my knowledge. Well, you signed for it. See, that's when you pull on both reins of the horse and say, I would like to speak to the general manager or the general sales manager, not the salesperson, not the finance manager. I want to talk to their boss about this situation. Now, depending on the store, you may not get to talk to the guy that owns it because he hadn't been there in 6 months, or he's in some corporate office because they own 50 dealerships. So that's unfortunate. But, you know, if you run into that situation, you need to talk. You need to escalate it. Talk to the top guy, because we're not talking about, you know, charging you an extra $300 or $400 on a repair that you're not happy about. We're talking about $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. I've seen dealerships charge customers $5,000 for a warranty that you could buy just about any place else for $1,600. And they did it by stretching the term of the loan from what the customer thought at 60 months to like 84 months. And they got in the payment range that they wanted, so they were able to hide it. Please, don't let them hide it. Well, thank you for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you need me, call me 423-552-2020 or send me a text message, or you can email me at LennyLawson2020@gmail.com. And I'll see you next time.